This is Geek Gab with your hosts, John, Brian, and me, Jasyn. We are back. That's right, Geek Gab for Saturday, March 19th, 2016. I really have absolutely nothing to say here at the top of the show, considering how we threw this together at the very absolute, not quite the last minute, but the actual last 10 minutes before starting the broadcast, so you'll have to forgive me if I don't have anything to say, but I know that my valiant co-hosts have prepared deep, in-depth, and interesting topics to talk about. Isn't that right, John?
It's been a great week. There's tons of stuff to talk about. I love it. It's a good or bad week to be a geek, depending on your perspective.
And Brian went to a movie festival last week, which is why he couldn't be on the show.
Boo, hiss.
Who earns? Yes.
It was the Super Zombie Stomp. What was the title again?
That was exactly it. We put on like those, romper stompers and just bounced all over the place. So there was a ball pit. No, it was the Drunken Zombie International Independent Horror Film Festival, bringing you the finest movies that Hollywood couldn't be bothered to make because they hate their audience. But luckily, nowadays a couple of film grads with a red cam and an abandoned watch factory can produce a horror movie that'll blow your mind on a shoestring budget. So, much like in publishing, we are starting to disintermediate the studios, and
I'm really hoping that was the end of the sentence and not a technical problem that caused you to drop out.
Sorry. I'll start doing like a telegram. It was the best thing ever. Stop. I was greatly entertained. Stop.
That was the most abrupt sentence ending I've ever heard.
It just like stopped in the middle of the sentence, and I was waiting for at least 2 to 3 more words to kind of finish the thought, but nope, bam! Like you chopped it off with a butcher's knife.
To be fair, I was on the Superversive live stream earlier with easily 4 times more people that are on this podcast right now. So to prevent crosstalk, I had to very much heighten my control over my reflexes to jump in and say something. So I'm now hypersensitive to pausing to let other people comment.
I see. Okay, so how many movies were there in the film festival?
Wow, well, if you count shorts, man, I'm going to say at least 50 over 2 days. Yeah, because there were...
And of course you saw every single one.
No, I was not one of the drunken zombie Iron Men, like Matt R. Jones or some of the others, but I went there straight after work on Friday night, so I missed like half of the first block of shorts, but caught the end of that, caught the first feature, and the next shorts, and the final couple features, and then I delayed coming back on Saturday because I had some things to do, because I'm a working writer, I had to get some stuff out of the way, but I made sure to be back in time on Saturday for They Will All Die in Space. Oh man, and I was not disappointed.
So I've seen that mentioned a couple of times by you and a couple of other people, and it stood out to you as a really good movie. Can you tell us about it?
I would love to tell you about it. First of all, I knew I was in for a treat because it is by, I believe his name is Alexander Chillon. He's a Spanish filmmaker who produced what up until now has been the best movie I've ever seen at any Drunken Zombie Film Fest, 2011's Decapota Shock. Now, just to try to describe it to you guys, Decapota Shock is about a Spanish astronaut who goes to Mars, and he's bitten by a radioactive crab and turns into like a Cronenberg-style lobster man who returns to Earth to exact revenge on the men who set him up. And it's a comedy, but it's a sci-fi comedy that is played straight. Like, the costumes are intentionally ridiculous. Like, the main character is like a dude in like an Apollo 11 style spacesuit, but with a lobster head and pincers. And in one scene, he is riding a horse. And it's narrated by him, right? Like in first person, like he's reminiscing over, well, these are the events that, led to my transformation, and then, I embarked upon a bloody reign of revenge when I found out that I had been set up by Satanists in the space program, and he goes on like a Kill Bill style rampage, and becomes a national hero, and goes on Spanish talk shows and stuff, and never changes his costume. So, That Capote Shock is simply amazing. Amazing. Filmmakers. They Will All Die in Space is something completely different. Like, I was not expecting this, because it's really not funny at all. It is a serious sci-fi thriller, very much made in the mold of, a 70s, 80s neo-noir film, Blade Runner, or especially Alien. So it really borrows a lot from that aesthetic. Shot totally in black and white. And without spoiling too much, it is the story of a man who is thawed from cryosleep aboard a spaceship in deep space, and is told by the only other two crewmen who are currently awake that there's been an emergency. We thawed you out early because we need a technician of your caliber to, fix these systems, or we're going to be adrift in space forever and eventually run out of supplies and die. And as these characters interact and attempt to solve this technical problem, it slowly dawns that all is not as it seems, and people's motivations aren't as selfless or wholesome as they were led to believe, and that's all I'm going to say.
And what's for the people who arrived late? What's the title of the movie again?
They Will in Space.
They Will All Die in Space.
Yes.
Never mind. I'm not gonna.
It's not very subtle, is it?
It's kind of like John dies at the end, because, in point of fact, and you might call this a spoiler, but it's the actual title of the movie. I don't know that it qualifies as a spoiler unless you're the gullible sort to go into a movie called John Dies at the End with a devout belief in your heart that John is going to make it through to the end of the movie.
It's ironic, right? Like, you go in and you're like, oh no, that couldn't be. I mean, they don't kill the main character. This is just Hollywood. It's just a joke.
Yeah.
No, John really, actually, honest to God, dies at the end of the movie called John Dies at the End. Okay, so, sorry, folks. I'm sorry I spoiled that for you. But the question I'm not asking, just to bring this around back to what I was not asking, is They Will All Die in Space. Is that a title like John Dies at the End? I'm not going to ask that question because, and this is where the thinking gets really labyrinthine, so you'll have to follow it closely here, that might actually be a spoiler.
The only thing I'll say is that the title is not subtle. The film and the storytelling are quite subtle. Very taut, very atmospheric, very moody, pitch-perfect tone. I loved it.
Any other standouts at the film festival?
Yes, it was a really strong year, but if I had to pick another standout, I would pick Suffer the Little Children. Now, I may have spoken about this before on Geek Gab, but Stephen King has a program that he calls his Dollar Baby program. You guys heard of this?
No.
Okay. Well, what Stephen King, out of the goodness of his heart, will do is he will license to you the film rights to any of his stories with a few conditions for $1.
Really?
Yes, and I believe that some of the conditions are, it can't have been filmed before. No one else can have bought the film rights to it, and you can't profit off of it, which means really only showing it at festivals, and I think specifically at festivals that don't award cash prizes, because, he would want to cut.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, no, I've seen a few Dollar Babies, actually, and they've all been really good. Someone did Everything's Eventual a couple of years ago. There are a couple others, but Stuff for the Little Children is the best. And are you guys familiar with the Stephen King short story of the same name?
Nope.
Is that the
No.
one where the teacher is getting freaked out by the
Yes.
kids? Okay. Yeah, it's one of the 4 stories in 4 Past Midnight.
Yes. And they pull it off perfectly. Again, they get the suspense, the mood, and the tone. I mean, it's basically you know that teacher everybody hated back in middle school. You know, the kind of bitter spinster who was a harsh Prussian taskmistress and made you stay late for no reason. And King and the filmmakers make her the protagonist and make her
The kind of teacher that major league perverts are ready to spend, thousands and thousands of dollars to hire.
yeah. So, but no, they make her sympathetic because you start wondering, well, is she having a psychotic episode or like an attack of paranoia from loneliness, or is there really something going on here, or both? And I won't spoil it. I'll just advise people to try to track it down.
Do they make these available, these dollar babies available, like on YouTube or other places where they don't make money off of them?
Sometimes. I did see there was a Kickstarter for Stuff for the Little Children. That was like the only web presence I found for it. But I know my buddies who ran the festival directors got a hold of it somehow. So I'll have to ask them to report back to you. But some diligent web searching will probably turn up for our listeners a way to watch the movie. But yeah, again, the filmmakers just can't profit off of it.
Okay. So if you want to track them down, I'm going to mess this up. They will all die in space. Did I get that right?
You did.
Okay. They will all die in space, and Suffer the Little Children, standouts from this year's Super Zombie Califragilisticexpialidocious Film Festival.
Indeed.
Anything else? Well, okay, let me ask you a question. You went and attended this in person, obviously. Where is this held at?
This is held at Landmark Theater in Peoria, Illinois.
Peoria, Illinois. Okay.
Yes.
And it's annual, so next year, around March, if you want to sit in for 3 days of very, very indie production horror, the Zombie Film Festival, the Drunken Zombie Film Festival, sounds like a good time.
Oh, it's a great time, and I got to warn some people. Drunken Zombie also does a monthly, what they call Deadly Double Feature, where they will take a couple of public domain horror films off of archive.org and show them, and we have a good time. But it's very much a grindhouse atmosphere, okay, especially on Friday night of the film fest. So if you do not like people like MST3King and talking at the screen jokes at some of the lower quality risible pictures, you might not have the best time. You might want to wait and come for Saturday when the audience is a little less rowdy, but it can be kind of freeing to be in that group environment. It turns into more of a participation sport.
Oh my god, people who talk at the theaters, they're the worst.
But not when it's openly a grindhouse environment and you're getting into it and you join in.
Isn't that one of the people that they mentioned in the Taekwon Leap song by the Frantics, Boot to the Head? People talking in movie shows? Yeah,
Yep.
It is. People talking in movie shows. People smoking in bed. People
voting Republican.
Give them a boot to the head.
All right, Dr. Demento. Okay, we can. But yeah,
Okay.
that's why I give the warning. If you're not used to it, it can be jarring, but it can also be liberating.
Oh, that's awesome. I bet a lot of people love that.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
If I was an East Coaster at this point, I could make a racist joke about New York cinema in the 1970s. Unfortunately, I'm not. So I can't, because I have never had direct experience with that. But I have watched Scrubs, where they mentioned that in an episode of Scrubs, that apparently African Americans really appreciate a good, solid, hearty yell at the screen, especially in horror movies. So.
I don't have a lot of experience with that phenomenon, except for one time, and it really stood out to me because it was a pretty common occurrence at the Blair Witch Project. and and I actually saw that movie twice in theaters. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, it was the first, or one of the first of those sort of like found footage movies, and so it was really, novel and interesting to me and everything. Um, and there's one person at one of the shows that I saw, and it was this black girl in front of me. She just could not handle how dumb the movie was. She was just yelling and spitting at the screen afterwards. And at the time, and I was thinking, man, just shut the fuck up. We're trying to watch this. And then when I got out of the movie and thought about what I saw, I'm like, I can't really blame her. Blair Witch was kind of stupid.
See, the reason why you saw it twice in the theaters is because I've never seen it, so you were making up for my deficit.
Yeah, I took care of that for you.
Yeah.
You owe me one.
You took that hit for me. Thanks, man.
You owe him 90 minutes back. Get on it.
So, no, wait. You were talking about news this week, geek news. Was that just like filler to try?
Oh,
to
yeah.
get
I mean, what do you want to talk about? We got Game Developers Conference, GDC, was this week. A couple of interesting tidbits and one minor kerfluffle out of there. We got Hulkamania running wild, all over Twitter and everything, man. It's been an interesting week of geek news.
You know what? I just found out. Not only is and this is sad because I actually feel bad. I felt this sinking feeling in my stomach when I found this out, because I thought, why didn't I already know this? Not only is Batman vs. Superman coming out, I think, in 6 days. It's coming out on the 25th, I believe. But in May, on May 6th, Captain America Civil War is coming out. And on later on in May, it may be the 25th again, or maybe the 26th, X-Men Apocalypse is coming out. And, of course, yesterday at midnight, Daredevil released on Netflix. I'm currently watching that.
We're at the saturation point, aren't we? Like, I mean, we've been there for probably a year, and it's still going on. It's like the zombie thing, only superhero movies.
Well, here's the thing, too. And this is what the post on my blog was about today. So, at the very last episode of Daredevil, if you watch through the end of the credits, they have a teaser trailer for Luke Cage, which is the next Netflix Marvel superhero series. So
they just they're going to keep spitting them out as long as the people are buying them, watching them, and some of them are really good, so why not?
Most of the Captain Americas, the 2 Captain Americas so far have been amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought the first one was okay, and then the second one, Winter Soldier, was really good.
Yeah.
So okay, Marvel movies coming out in May. Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice.
Yeah. Oh, Brian, we talked about this last week. We're probably gonna have to all watch Bats versus Soups. We're gonna take. Speaking of taking a hit, we're gonna take that shot so we can rant about how awful it is on the Gab.
If I can find a way to see it without paying for it, I'd be down, because I don't want to feed the monkey. Yeah. We'll talk about this.
Oh, speaking of which, did you guys see this video? Apparently, there's this video. I saw a quick clip of it of Cavill, the guy who plays Superman in Man of Steel in the new movie. He's standing underneath the giant billboard in Times Square, just hanging out. And apparently, he was there for like 45 minutes or whatever, and nobody noticed him. Like, nobody said, "Oh, hey, it's Henry Cavill, the guy who did it's actually Superman standing right below like a 20-foot tall billboard of himself up there as dressed as Superman. It's kind of a cute clip.
I did see that video, and I thought it was great at pointing out that what people think are holes in movies or holes in plots are very often not actually holes at all. Whether or not the people who made them knew that they got stuff right, they actually can get stuff right entirely by accident.
I can see that.
TV Tropes calls that fridge brilliance. to where when the movie's over and you're walking to the fridge to get a snack, you all of a sudden realize that something you thought was wrong and stupid is actually just incredible and great and amazing.
Nice.
So, fridge brilliance. Oh, that's right. This is what I was going to remember now. The Drunken Zombie Film Festival. What that reminded me of is there's a new movie coming out on the Sci-Fi Channel that stars 7 members of boy bands from the 1990s.
What?
That sounds awesome.
And the movie is called Dead 7.
Huh.
It is a zombie western.
What?
A zombie western from when boy bands roamed the earth.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I have to say about it. I mean,
It sounds like someone. It sounds like they were just they come up with plot or movie ideas using like pop culture internet flashcards.
Someone just did all the coke there is.
There's this card game called Smash Up. Have you guys heard of this card game?
No, we have not.
It's a pretty simple game, and the idea is it's called Smash Up because each player takes 2 factions, and like the starter box comes with something like 10 factions. You take 2 factions, and each faction has its own deck of cards, and you smash the decks together, you shuffle them up, and you play. So each player has a deck a deck that comprises 2 factions. And all the factions are like ha-ha pop culture internet geek memes. There's like dinosaurs with lasers, ninjas, pirates. You get the idea. So that's what these sci-fi shows. They're like, yeah, let's play a game of Smash Up or something. Let's use the pop culture flashcards and come up with, ooh, don't forget to add zombies to it. Yeah, that'll be perfect.
It's made by the same people that made Sharknado. So I assume it's going to be of the same high quality of movie that you would expect from the people who put together Sharknado.
Well, guess what? I know you didn't intend this, my friend, but I might actually watch this now. And here's why. I'll tell you why. It's because I'm not a big fan of westerns, okay? However, there's one subgenre of western that I like better than many other speculative fiction genres, and that's the weird western. So you take a western and add like a horror element, or Lovecraftian element, or zombies or something. Then you got my attention. So we'll see how this goes.
So Deadlands. Have you ever played Deadlands?
That is why I love weird westerns. Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Love it.
What about that bomb from a couple years ago, Cowboys and Aliens? Did you see that?
No, I didn't, because that's Aliens. It's not a weird western. That's just genre kit bashing sci-fi and western. It's got to be more creative than that.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw Aliens versus Cowboys. I didn't like it really that much. Okay, so here's the bands that appear in Dead 7. Backstreet Boys. Not all of them, just 2 guys from the Backstreet Boys, 2 guys from NSYNC, 1 guy from 98 Degrees, and 4 people, which I assume is 80% of the band from O-Town, because all boy bands have 5 people in it.
Yeah, right.
I've never even heard of O-Town. The rest I've heard of.
I've never heard of O-Town. I've only barely heard of 98 Degrees.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
We're out of touch. Oh well. But, not entirely, because is it the right time to bring up the Sad Puppies 4 list now? Can we do that now?
Oh, yeah. We're running out of time anyway, so we might as well do that now. We got about 6 minutes left.
You want to do it, or should I do it?
No, go ahead. I don't know anything about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I know a lot about it. Well, the first thing you should know is what Sad Puppies 4 list is. Really quickly, unlike previous campaigns to end puppy-related sadness, Kate Polk was in charge of Sad Puppies this year. Just opened up the suggestions to the internet and said, hey, internet, come on in. Tell us what you think your favorite sci-fi and fantasy works of the year were in every Hugo eligible category.
I'm gonna let you finish, but first let me explain this. Uh, the campaign to end puppy-related sadness is about nominating and voting for specific works in the Hugo Awards, which is an annual science fiction award given out at Worldcon, which in this year is Mid-Americon 3.
Correct. Well said. So in previous years, guys like Larry Correa, who started it, and Brad Torgerson just put out lists of, like Larry would put out, hey, here's what I read and liked this year. And then Brad consulted with various other professionals and fans and came up with a list of what he liked. This year, Kate Polk and Sarah Hoyt and Amanda Green just said, hey, we're going to host a website with comments, and in the comments just say what your favorite works were. At the end of the voting period, we're going to just collate the results and publish lists of the top 10-ish recommended works in each category, and it's just going to be, this is what the fans recommend. And it was a very diverse group of voters. Like, there were people from, all sides of the political spectrum, and, Pink and Blue SF, File 770, and Monster Hunter Nation, all over the map. So it was a fair contest, and the results were staggering. Superversive even. So for one thing, full disclosure, Geek Gab got a suggestion in Best Fan Cast. And I think we're like number 2 or 3.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, I got the list. I looked at the list. We should put the link, Jasyn, in this show. You do that with the links, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's one thing. Now, to blow my own horn, because I'm working author and I got to get paid, right? Ethereal made it squeaked into the top 10 for Best Novel at number 10, along with dudes like John C. Wright, Larry Correa, Neil Stephenson, and Jim Butcher. So I thought that was pretty amazing. But then, and what kind of freaks me out in the race for the Campbell, well, not really the race, but in suggestions for the Campbell Award for Best New Writer, I came in tied for first place with Andy Weir, who wrote The Martian. And I don't know how that happened. I conclude, I can only get readers are, in fact, if not gods, then beings of such powers to be indistinguishable from gods to mere mortals, and we should worship and fear them. Because, yeah, that happened. So thanks, guys. Then, also the Superversive SF website and the Superversive live stream made it into their top 10s. So I'm involved with 5 different projects in the top 10s of the SP4 list.
Oh, that's cool. And if things go well, that one or more of them might even turn into Hugo nominations. That's what you're saying?
It's possible if Sad Puppies maintains the same voting discipline as last year, then yeah, it's likely. I mean, there are a lot of balls in the air now, especially with Vox doing this whole Rabid Puppies thing, which is now not in the slightest related to Sad Puppies, because he did just do, I'm just going to call it a slate. He's like, here's what you should vote for. He's not even being subtle about it. And a lot of the works don't match up from what I've seen. And I think this year the Rabid Puppies are going to be more disciplined and bigger, so Sad Puppies' influence might diminish a bit, but it depends on the degree of crossover and voting discipline. We'll just have to see. But honestly, if I only make it this far, as another big Sad Puppies 4-Wonder Declan Finn said, that's great. I consider it an honor that the folks, the fans, thought my work worthy enough to get this far. It's awesome.
Well, that's cool. You should keep us in the loop. What happens with it?
Well, I will, especially since our show is one of the contenders. So, yeah, I'll let you know. Nominations are due by March 31st, so we'll know pretty soon, actually.
Well, don't they take a while to collate those? Don't they have like a month to collate those so they get announced on April 1st?
Yeah, which is not too long from now.
Oh, that's good. That's good. I'm looking forward to it.
Cool.
Thanks to anybody who's listening who recommended us. That would be cool.
Right on.
I didn't even know that's a thing, really. A fan cast. They just made a category for that.
The Hugo categories are weird. They're creating them all the time. Like, they create new ones that are kind of redundant, and then there are old archaic ones. Like, I'm surprised there's not a best story recorded on Edison cylinder category still. You know, it's weird.
Huh, weird.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's fandom, and fandoms are weird.
Because, like, for example, in video game related news related to the Hugos, they have a category for, it's not best picture, it's best dramatic presentation, and then it's divided into long form and short form. And Vox did some checking and found that according to the rules, video games qualify for best long form dramatic presentation. So he's got a couple of video games nominated for Rabid Puppies this year.
That's strange.
Or suggested. Yeah. But according to the strict reading of the rules, you know, they're so vague that, yeah, a video game, as long as it takes more than 90 minutes to play through, it qualifies.
Which means all the crappy indie video games will never qualify.
Good point.
Okay. We are out of time. Is there, you have any final words?
No, I had fun. Thanks for listening. Thanks for chatting, guys.
Thanks.
All right, this has been Geek Gab, episode 47, believe it or not, for Saturday, March 19th, 2016. Thanks for everybody who tuned in on absolutely no notice at all. By the way, hopefully we will be back on the regular Geek Gab YouTube channel next week, because that whole mess with DMCA and stuff should be cleared up by then. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We're signing off for today, but don't worry, don't fret. Don't spend a single moment wondering, hoping whether or not it is true. We will be back.